Welcome to another episode of High Value Shan, where not only is Shan a high value man, so is the content. So look, 2 nights ago I was on a podcast. It's a podcast I do every Thursday night. We go live. It's called Ask a Black Man Anything. It's a real cool podcast. In fact, you guys should subscribe. Check it out. It's about 13 of us brothers, and it's literally what the title is, Ask a Black Man Anything. And if you go to aabma.live or askablackmananything.live, either one will take you to our podcast. Subscribe and watch some of the episodes. But during this last episode, this past Thursday, got into somewhat of a heated debate because we talked about this whole Dr. Dre thing. Now we discussed Dr. Dre 2 weeks ago when it came to his divorce. And it was kind of a mixed bag. You know, some were like, yo, you know, she deserves that, and others was like, yo, you know, you wasn't in the gym shooting with me, or you wasn't I forget how that shit goes, but you know what Kobe has said, right? You wasn't in the gym shooting with me. Whatever. You wasn't in the recording studio recording with me. And so a lot of people felt that, not a lot, but some people felt that Dr. Dre's wife doesn't deserve $300,000 a month. Others said he got off easy. 2 weeks later, which was 2 days ago, we started talking about the most recent news, which is Dr. Dre's daughter, 38-year-old daughter, currently in the news because she is claiming that she's homeless and hasn't received any assistance from Dre in over a year and a half, since January 2020. So we discussed that. And then during that discussion, most of the brothers spoke. And then at the end, I came in and I had an opposing view to some of the ways that they were thinking. Not necessarily an opposing view to the overall sentiment, but the manner in which some of the brothers was speaking. And I got 2 private messages asking me to expound on what I thought. And I figured I could write them, or I could just go live and talk about it this Saturday morning. So first, let me bring, for those who don't know, who's been under a rock the last 4 days, let's talk about it. So let me bring up the article itself. Dr. Dre is one of hip hop's wealthiest men, but his daughter and grandkids are homeless. Boy, they sure know how to write these headlines, right? To get people excited, or get these emotions going. They could just in one line. These the media has mastered the ability to evoke certain emotions from people in their headlines. It's a trip. And the thing about this article, before I read it, I have 2 views. I have a view that I think makes Dr. Dre look like a piece of shit, and I have a view that makes his daughter kind of like a piece of shit. And the reality is, we don't know the truth about either one of them. This is their personal, private, family business. And just like you have a lot of shit going on in your family's life, you know, think about the things that you would not want exposed to the world. Don't, think that, what does it say? The first person without sin cast a stone. I don't think any of us are going to be throwing stones. It's a lot of problems in people's personal lives, especially when it comes to family matters. But it's a trip that we always want to get involved in to the celebrity's family life. But the point is, we don't know the reality or the full truth of anything about the relationship between Dr. Dre and his daughter. And oftentimes, you only hear one side of the story. Ain't that usually the case? You hear one side of the story, and that becomes the narrative. And usually, if you listen, if it's a woman, it's believe all women. Just believe all women. Doesn't matter if they're a liar. Doesn't matter if they have a past. Doesn't matter if there's drugs involved. Doesn't matter if anything can be potentially manipulating the story. Just believe women, right? So Dre hasn't spoken on this yet, but she has, and she's been in the news multiple times. So here's the latest. LaTanya Young, the eldest daughter of music mogul Dr. Dre, has revealed that she and her 4 children are homeless and haven't gotten a dime from her millionaire father in 18 months, despite her pleas for help. Well, that right there, she says, I have friends and family that will let us come back and forth, but the majority of the time I'm living out of my car, the 38-year-old told the UK's Daily Mail exclusively. So she's 38 years old, and her children are with friends and family, which makes me automatically go to, are there any drugs involved? You know, and I mean those hard drugs, those mind manipulating, you know, crystal meth or, you know, heroin, cocaine. You know, is there any drugs involved? In the friends and family are saying, well, you can't stay here, but the kids can. You can't stay, but bring the babies. The babies can stay with us. It's not their fault. Let's protect these children, these innocent children. But you got to go. You can't spend a night here. So that raises that question. And the fact that she's 38 years old, not 28 years old, not 18 years old, but she's been an adult for 20 years. And so that is one of the biggest arguments that a lot of people were having. But let's continue the article. As this year, the rapper, producer, and music entrepreneur has an estimated net worth of $820 million. Meanwhile, Young works as a delivery driver for DoorDash and Uber Eats and as an assembler at a warehouse. But she says those precarious gigs aren't enough to cover rent in California, where average monthly rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is about 55% higher than the national average. Well, my first question would be, why are you in California? You know, if California is expensive to live in, and if you are not an actor or musician or in the entertainment industry some way, maybe a model, or some reason why you should be in Tinseltown, some reason why you should not be in, reason why you should be in Hollywood, and you can't afford to live here because of your career, and your career isn't affording you the opportunity to live in Los Angeles, then why are you here? You should probably go, if you go somewhere else. Now, I understand why homeless people come to California because of the weather, right? It's if you're gonna be homeless in LA. But if you are not, if there's no mental illness there, which is a question, why would you even be trying to be in Los Angeles? Why don't you go somewhere else that's more affordable? It doesn't make any sense to me. As the article says, Young, whose mother split from Dr. Dre when, I'm sorry. As a result, Young has been living out of a rental SUV, while her 4 children stay with friends. It's an SUV that costs $2,300 for 3 weeks. And I only paid for 1 week, which is a little less than $800. Sooner or later, they are going to take the car, she said. So she has a SUV that costs $2,300 for 3 weeks, not even a full month. That's $800 a week. That's a little over $100 a day for the SUV. Why not just buy a car? Why are you renting an SUV for $800? And I get it. I don't know the whole story. That's the thing about it. So all we have is hypothetics here. All we can do is make assumptions. But, you know, all things, you know, being true, it leads to usually good presumptions as to why people are in the predicaments that they're in. Young also said that her father has helped her in the past by paying her rent and giving her an allowance. But that ended in January 2020, before the pandemic, before we even knew the word coronavirus. So he stopped the money 2020. And it's an interesting month that it stopped, January 2020. So it's almost like I'm thinking, was there some kind of agreement set up? First of the year, everything's done. I've been doing this, but anyways, we'll get to that. But he ended that in January 2020 after she spoke to the press about their relationship. His lawyer has said that my dad doesn't want to help me because I've spoken about him in the press, she said. I feel like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. Her circumstances then took a turn for the worse when she had to move from Nevada to California last month in order to find work, a process that has been extremely difficult for her. So she was living in Vegas, right? Or somewhere in Nevada. You know, we consider all of Nevada Las Vegas, right? Even though there's Reno and other places. But she was out there in Vegas or in Nevada. She came to California. Pops cut her off, and she's speaking through the lawyer. So, since the news came out, social media has been lighting up Dr. Dre, and rightfully so, with many people asking the obvious question of why a man who has a net worth of over 800 million would leave his child and young grandchildren out on the street. Now, that is the sentiment that most of the brothers and most people I talk to have when discussing this particular situation. And this is what they were saying just this past Thursday night. And I understand, you know, the dad doesn't want to help because I've spoken out about him in the press before. If you're not praising Pops, who's covering you, and you're saying anything adverse or negative, do you really expect a handout? Do you really expect somebody to help you? That is the position that a lot of people have. You can't talk shit about me over here, but then have your hand out asking me to help you. And she's admitted that he's helped her in the past by paying her rent and giving her an allowance. This is adult child support. So he's been giving adult child support, and she's 38 years old today. Of the few people supporting Dr. Dre, sports analysis like Shannon Sharp has probably been the loudest. A 38-year-old grown woman trying to shame her father into taking care of responsibilities that she created. He tweeted about the situation, "I'm my kid's last option, not their first choice." This statement is callous on its own, coming from any parent, but with all the misguided notions that black capitalism is a way to build generational wealth, one has to wonder, where are the generations in this equation? How is it that a man with Dr. Dre's money and resources can so easily leave his child and grandchild out in the cold, regardless of his hurt feelings, right? And despite being on the hook for another major financial other financial responsibilities, as some have noted, how back in July he was ordered to pay his ex-wife Nicole Young nearly $300,000 a month indefinitely until she dies or he dies or she gets remarried. It's not like 2 years like Kelly Clarkson. It seems like Dr. Dre has more than enough funds to support his daughter and grandchildren. He's simply choosing not to. So here's my thoughts. On one hand, this is where I feel Dr. Dre would be an asshole. This is where I feel that I wasn't feeling like Shannon Sharp, or I wasn't feeling like the brothers from Ask a Black Man Anything, because outside of your child attempting to kill you, can you imagine a situation where you will allow your children and your children's children to live in a car, and it would cost you literally $1 to help them? Now, I get it. Everybody's counting Dr. Dre's net worth, $820 million. But that doesn't mean that he has $820 million sitting in the bank account, right? That's his net worth. But it is safe to assume that he has a few $1 million laying around. It is safe to assume that he's making a few $1 million a month, right? Especially if he's got to pay his wife $320,000 a month. So what does it cost to have an apartment? I'm not even suggesting that he give her an allowance. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but notice that she was receiving an allowance and having her place paid for. He cut all of that off to the point where now she's homeless. I can't imagine why any man would allow his lineage, his seed, to be homeless with no place to stay. And you are a multi-million dollars, or you're a millionaire, and you got multiple millions of dollars coming in. Now, an apartment in Little Rock, Arkansas ain't no money. You can buy a whole house in Little Rock, Arkansas for $20,000. The whole house, multiple bedrooms, with a big yard and a driveway. 2 stories for $50,000. Cash, paid for, no rent, no mortgage note, no nothing, and the property tax ain't but a couple $100 a year. So I can't imagine how somebody who's that wealthy can have the conscience of allowing his child or his children's children be homeless to the point that they're sleeping in a car. Because as far as I'm concerned, homelessness is damn near a death sentence. You see, my office is downtown Los Angeles, and I deal with homeless near Skid Row daily. I'm always, do you know how many times I come to my office, and sometimes there's somebody that took a shit right near my door, and I got to get that washed down. I talk to the homeless all the time. Mental health is real down there, man, and people can be attacked, and women and children are the most vulnerable. People die. They don't even cover it anymore. When somebody's found dead or somebody's raped or something happens bad, it's not even covered in the news anymore. Certainly not, over across the country. It's not even covered here in LA because it happens too often. And so the notion that my child, even if we don't have a good relationship, is sleeping in her car with my grandchildren, and I have the ability to help, and my help would hit my pockets equivalent to the average American of $1, $5. Would I do that? There's no way in hell I would do that. And so that was my argument and my pushback to the brothers. Could you allow that to happen? Could you let your own child or your grandchildren be homeless, and you had the ability to help them, and it wouldn't cost you nothing? It's negligible how much it would help to make sure that they're not sleeping in an SUV. Now, that's that side of the story. Here's the flip side of the story. And let me be clear. This is the side of the story that I actually believe. I think she's capped. I don't believe, personally, the daughter. 38 years old. I'm here in LA. I know the mentality of us Angelinos. I know how we rock here in South Central. I know how we get down. So I know I don't know the situation, but I know the mentality of that. And I don't think we're hearing the entire side of the story. And if Dre was to give his side of the story, I believe it would exonerate him, but Dre don't give a fuck. So here's my thing. I don't think Dre would allow her to be homeless if it wasn't for her choice. See, what a lot of people aren't taking into consideration is, especially the people who are hating Dr. Dre, because it doesn't matter what he do, they're gonna hate him. They're gonna hate that brother. If you are homeless, she claims that she hasn't spoken, like in last December 2020, she said she hadn't spoken to Dr. Dre in 17 years. She hadn't seen Dr. Dre in 17 years and has never met the grandkids. So today, she hasn't seen Dr. Dre in 18 years. She hasn't seen Dr. Dre since she was 20 years old. And that was probably a brief encounter. And he has never met the grandchildren. But the thing is it not okay that Dre hasn't seen you in 18 years? But it is okay for you to have your hand out for 18 years. You claim it's a bad thing that you haven't seen him in 18 years, but you don't have no problem getting that check and having your rent paid. That is where I take issue with. And the fact that Dre cut you off in 2020 of last year, something's telling me that you had a timeline of something that you needed to complete. And we know those family members. We all got them, don't we? The ones that's always asking or always begging. And you get to the point where, you know what? I'm going to help you out. I'm going to do what I can for you. But this is what you got to do, because I'm not going to help you more than you help yourself. I'm a walking testament to that, man. I've helped so many people more than they want to help themselves. And most times they don't even do anything until their back is against the wall and they have to do something. They're forced to do better. But they don't do better if they don't have to. They only do better because they're forced to do better. And that gets tiring. To try to, it's like, don't you care about you more than I care about you? And so this tells me that Dre was like, yo, you got to the first of the year. In 2019, I believe Dre said, you got to the first of the year to get your shit together. And if you don't get your shit together and you don't do these particular things, then I'm done. And here's the thing. As easy as I'm saying, it's no big deal for Dre to pick up a house. He could buy a house anywhere. $300,000, it's no big deal. For 1 month of alimony to his ex-wife, 1 month, he could buy a house paid off here in LA. Only thing that's due is property tax and insurance. Dre can do that. I'm gonna go so far as to say Dre has done that. He probably got property all over the goddamn country. But is there more things involved, more factors like maybe drugs, alcohol? You see, homeless can be a subjective term. Dre may be saying, oh, you're not homeless. I got an apartment for you in Little Rock, Arkansas with your name on it, and it's been paid for 10 years. It's paid up 10 years. Or I bought the property myself. Move there. You and the kids pack up. Move to Arkansas. I use Arkansas because I have family there. And my family has property there. My father is buried there. My grandmother is buried there. My father was so that's why I use Arkansas. Pack up and move to Arkansas. You can go there and live your life. No problem. But do you want to? You see, sometimes homelessness is a choice. When people are given opportunity to do something different, they don't want to do it. And then they blame the person who is not giving them more than what they want. Bullshit. How about this? And this was brought up in the discussion the other night. What if Dre said, I got a halfway house and a 12-step program for you to join. There's a mental hospital and a facility for you to live in over in Malibu. Take PCH up the coast. They're waiting on you with your bed. But you must go through this program before I do anything else. What if he's given her that opportunity, but she won't take it? What if she's somehow conveniently omitting that part when she speaks about what her and the lawyer discussed? But the lawyer said, oh no, you're not homeless. You don't have to worry about that. We're ready to take you to this place to get better. Or we have a job for you, but you have to move to New Orleans. You could work for Aftermath as a secretary in the warehouse, but you'll have to move to New Orleans. That's what you got to do. Oh no, I don't want to move to New Orleans. I ain't doing that. I don't want to go get off of drugs. I don't want to go help get off of alcohol. And if she's not on drugs or alcohol and she's completely clean, I just don't want to move to the South. I don't want to live in Simi Valley. I don't want to live in Barstow. I don't want to move to Apple Valley or Lancaster or Palmdale. I want to stay right here. Why you can't help me? I believe one of those cases are more than just Dre saying, screw you and my grandkids. Sometimes you can't enable people. See, the thing is, Dre was paying her. I don't believe that people should pay people like that. One of my brothers got on me because he was saying that I was telling him what to do with his money. No, listen, I'm not telling anybody what to do with their money. I'm suggesting that people don't give people money because you enable them. It's a suggestion. Don't give them money because they become entitled. They think, they take it for granted. And so what happens is when you cut it off, you become villainized, man. And you're the worst thing. And then they run to the press and they talk shit about you. And then they only tell partial pieces of the story. But if you sat down and said, Dre, what happened, bro? Look, man, we got an apartment. No, I bought a whole house out in fucking California City. I got a whole house out there, man. She can stay there. She just don't want to live out there. She don't want to move out there. What you want me to do? I'm not paying for an apartment in North Hollywood anymore. I'm not buying a house in West Hollywood. She can't live in Santa Monica no more. But I got a place for her to stay in California City, out there right past Lancaster, near the desert. She could drive to LA, and I got a little hoopty little car for her to have. She don't want the car. It's a Honda Accord. It was a 2015 Honda Accord. And got an apartment for her out there in Lancaster. She don't want that. So she'd rather take this little money that she's doing and then live in this car and then blame me and make me seem like I'm the bad guy. I believe that the story is more on that side than the other side. So all those people out there talking about how rich Dr. Dre is and how they can't believe that he's out there letting his grandchildren be home. No, you can't let anybody be anything when you are of sound mind and body. Dr. Dre has no legal authority to dictate what she does with her children, what she does with herself. Dr. Dre cannot, she's 38 years old. He has no legal authority to make her do anything. But maybe she don't like the options that she's been given, and so now he's the bad guy. There's a lot of people out there that don't like the options that people give them. And so now they're the bad guy because they feel that you can help them more than you are. Nobody's entitled to help anybody whatsoever. My mother, my father, as much as they've helped me as an adult, they are not entitled to do any of that whatsoever. But they do it because that's them. But we can't dictate who helps who and how much. But I don't believe that most anybody with a sound mind, most any grandparent with a sound mind and body will allow their grandchildren to be homeless. But you gotta let the kids or your child or that grandparent's child make the right choice. And oftentimes they don't make the choice. So can you imagine having adult child support for 18 years? Or for 20 years after they turn 18. First of all, you got child support up until they're 18, and now you continue the child support up until they're damn near 40. That, my friends, is what a lot of people aren't considering. Oh, because you rich, you should do it. No. And maybe I am. I'm just not doing it like you think I should do it. Yeah, I am doing it. Go to this rehab. Oh, you don't want to go to the rehab? Then what you want? What else you want me to do? Move to Tempe, Arizona. I got an apartment out there on apartment number 28. It's available for you. Go. Oh, you don't want to move to Tempe, Arizona? You don't want to move to Little Rock, Arkansas? You don't want to go to rehab? Then don't call yourself homeless. You're not homeless. You're not living where you want to live because you maybe feel entitled because of who I am. So those are my thoughts, you guys. There's two sides of the story. The first side is you're a bum. If you were to allow your grandchildren to be on the street with zero help and it will cost you nothing to help? You know what that's like? That's like saying anybody that's ever given a homeless person $1. If you've ever given out more than $12 in a year, in 12 months, that's $1 a month. If you've ever donated $12 to a stranger, then you would not allow your grandchildren to be homeless for the same amount of money. It's literally $12 a year. It'll cost you $12. In millionaire dollars, that might be $12,000. That might be $1,200. In billionaire dollars. It's no money. It's negligible. It's negligible. No matter how your kids treat you bad, here's $12. And you can help them out from a distance. So if you aren't willing to help for $12, but you give $12 to strangers, then you a bum. You a bum. I don't think Dre's a bum. I think Dre is doing what he needs to do for her to do better. It's the second oldest child of his. He has 7. I think he's doing what's required because other than that, she'll be asking for allowance and rent paid for the rest of his and or her life. So no, this is what you got to do. If you don't do it by January 2020, because he's probably saying this in 2019, then everything's cut. Or I ain't gonna really cut you off, but I'm cutting you off in the manner in which I've been taking care of you for the last 18 years. You're not cut off. I'm switching it up. I'm switching up the payments. 1, no more allowances, no more stipends. 2, you can't stay where you've been staying. Now this is where you're gonna stay. That's it. Oh, I don't want to do that. Then that's you making that decision, not me. I didn't cut you off. I changed the deal. So that's that. Those are the two different versions. Somebody that's literally not letting somebody sending somebody to a death sentence to make them homeless and be out there in the street and potentially be attacked while sleeping under the freeway in the fucking Target or Home Depot parking lot, then yeah, you're a bum. I don't think Dre's a bum. I think Dre's out there changing the terms of their relationship. He's changing the deal. And she don't like the deal. And so now here she is running back to the press again to villainize him. But all you're doing is making it worse, because that's really gonna make him even change the deal and make it worse. You didn't learn that from the last time you spoke to the press? It was the last time you spoke to the press that you had a problem. So there's my thoughts, you guys. Dope ass dad. That's my thoughts. So I hope I made it clear for those that wanted to know, wanted me to expound on my thoughts on what we discussed 2 nights ago. Dre, is he an asshole? You decide. Based on the information I've given you, what do you think? Do you think that he is allowing his children and his children's children to be homeless and live in a car when it would cost him all of $5 to equivalency to make her not homeless? Or do you believe that a 38-year-old woman with 4 kids by I don't know how many baby daddies, unwed, who's been getting an allowance and having her rent paid for over 20 years is suddenly a victim? You think she's a victim? Pick one. Talk about it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. All right, y'all. Next time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. Amarte es mi maña, que lo que toca mi mano se dañan. Pero amor es lo que dicen, como un color entre los grises. Yo nunca te fallé, tú no eres cualquiera. Tú eres la mujer, mi corazón anhela. Pasan por ahí todas esas poses que tú conoces. Gracias a mi mujer, ni tu amigo, pero en vivo solo contigo disfruto el show, bebé. Alright, cita, dime pa' dónde vas, que yo te caigo donde sea. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. Somos Adán y Eva, y estoy listo pa' tomar el castigo. Yeah, y todo lo prohibido y los pecados que tú y yo hemos cometido. Pasan por ahí todas esas poses que tú conoces. Gracias a mi mujer, ni tu amigo, pero en vivo solo contigo disfruto el show, bebé. Alright, pasita, dime pa' dónde vas, que yo te caigo donde sea. Eres perfecta mujer, de la cabeza a los pies. Tú pasas de mi nivel, tú tienes el piquete. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. De la forma que tú besas, mami, más simétrica que un origami. Eres perfecta mujer.